Welcome to the Hey Docs podcast with your host, Jill Allen. Today, I am welcoming back Davin Bickford from WildSmiles Braces. Davin works closely with orthodontic practices across the country and has a front row seat to how market forces, patient expectations, and branding are shifting in orthodontics, especially when it comes to younger patients. In this episode, we're talking about why early treatment matters more than ever, how experiences now drive conversion, and what practices need to rethink if they want sustainable growth in an increasingly competitive market. So let's get into it. This episode was brought to you by Gray Finch. Hey docs, if your new patient follow-up depends on someone remembering, it's leaking revenue. Gray Finch automates new patient follow-up, texts and emails go out automatically, and your treatment coordinator just checks their tasks list to see what needs a quick call or a more personalized message. That is one of the many reasons I recommend everyone take a look at Gray Finch. It isn't just a follow-up tool, it's a complete practice management software built to help you grow and scale. Stop leaking revenue and get $500 off your startup fee with the Jill Allen special at grayfinch.com/Jill Allen. Davin, I am so excited to have you back on Hey Docs. Thanks for being here.
Jill, it's great to be back. I always enjoy our conversations.
Yes, me too.
Yeah.
Me too. Yeah, I feel like you and I, it doesn't matter if we're on Hey Docs or we're at a conference or we're sitting at dinner. We've always got plenty to talk about.
Yeah, it's been great. And it was good to see you recently. I hadn't seen you in person in a while, so it was good to catch up and see you.
Yes, likewise. So in the event that somebody there's a possibility they haven't caught one of our earlier episodes, would you mind just letting the audience know a little refresher on who you are, your background, talk about WildSmiles a little bit and what you guys are doing with orthodontic practices?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Davin Bickford, and I've been in the industry we were just talking before this, but for 20 years this year, and came into the industry to work with a company called WildSmiles. I still work with WildSmiles, but our goal when we first got started was just to create a better orthodontic experience for typically young kids, but anybody who wants to have fun with their braces and the experience. And that was through designer shaped braces. And over the years, we've added multiple different styles. We've organized them now into different collections. And we really have kind of a framework that practices can plug in to their marketing, to their practice, that is a lead generator, as well as an experience for the patients that are coming in from before the patients come in through social media and your website and content. We help them leverage the experience that their patients are having in those mediums. And then we have a series of what we call patient experience materials that help patients really have a really unique experience to their personality and their interest, and then help them design their smile and really enjoy the braces journey because they get a say in it. So that's what we do, but it's really about patient experience is how we've evolved.
Yeah, I love that. And it is fun, right? As we own businesses and have businesses and are a part of businesses, just the evolution of watching, I don't know, a product, a company, an idea just come to evolve and just watching where it goes. And I've definitely seen that with WildSmiles. This evolution from, it's just a designer bracket to it's about patient experience and patient education and really helping doctors capitalize on different markets within their practice that they may not have even really thought about. And I think the phase one early treatment is, I've been doing this for in total a little over 34 plus years now, but my own business 20. And it's crazy to me to see that kind of evolution of what we're doing. And Davin, you and I were talking, and I can't remember if it was just at which conference it was at just recently that we were talking, but we were talking about just early treatment and
Yep.
what we're seeing now in the market. And you had made a point to me where you were saying that under 14 demographic is now the biggest growth opportunity for practices.
Yeah.
And I would love for you to talk a little bit about that, because I think it's a really important point that we need to be thinking about in our practices. And what is the market shifts that we're seeing that you think are driving that as it's going along, which is very different than where
Yeah.
we were 15 years ago, or even maybe even 10 years ago.
Yeah. Absolutely. So when I first started, like when you started 20 years ago and I started around the same
Mhm.
time, phase one, I don't want to say was a naughty word, but it wasn't, there was a lot of skepticism around it. There were some studies that had come out from some different universities questioning how effective early treatment was just in general. And it wasn't really a lot of orthodontists. We've come to find out that a lot of orthodontists just didn't feel comfortable diagnosing and treating it because it wasn't something that was really done in the university setting very much. And the doctor that created WildSmiles went to UNC, was under Dr. Bill Profit and a lot of those guys that were early treatment skeptics. And so we definitely have never had the approach that like early treatment at all cost. You should
Mhm.
always do. But what we found out over the years as more and more information has come out is that there are about 30% of patients that don't receive early treatment that really could benefit. So there's that. There's also the under recognition by orthodontists of patients and their parents that might have some sort of a cosmetic concern. So the doctor might say, you don't really need early treatment, but the parent is sitting there saying, my kid is crying because they come home from school because they're getting picked on about their teeth. And so that is something that the orthodontist should take into consideration when looking at when to start braces. And maybe they don't need an expander. Maybe you just need to do some very limited orthodontic treatment, and that's fine if the patient sees value in it and obviously it's not hurting them. So there's that segment, which that's a whole different probably
Right.
conversation that we don't really, maybe we'll do a different episode on that. But that's just kind of setting the stage for where we are now and this whole 14 and under. So there's been a lot of reporting over the last 5 years of the amount of kids dropping in terms of
Mhm.
birth rates. And that's a real number.
Mhm.
But what often happens is that the orthodontist takes for granted the younger patients, that 14 and under that are coming in, and their mindset has almost always been around kids are going to come in and they'll just do what we say because they're going to do it. Now, every start in that 14 and under category is even more precious to the orthodontic practice. And we do a lot of coaching with our clients on how and what are you doing in your practice to really focus on attracting those younger kids, because they're shopping. So now they're seeing what an average, you probably know the statistics better than I do, but the numbers that I see are around 3 orthodontists stop, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
if you're now in competition with 3 orthodontists and mostly all things are the same, what are you doing to attract that 14-year-old and their shopping mom? Oh, and by the way, kids have more of a say in their overall where they go. They now are
Yep.
the parents lean on the kids a lot of times to say, okay, these 3 are all really great. Which one did you like? Which that was
Mhm.
not an option for me as a kid. And so that is one of the powerful things about what we're doing with our practices, is saying, hey, all things are equal. What are you doing to really set yourself apart in this very precious age range? And it's only become more precious.
Yeah. And I could not agree with you more. And it is scary in multiple ways. Like patients have always shopped and parents have always shopped. I should say parents have always shopped. But I do agree, like that number has went up. We are seeing more of that. And what we are really seeing is more influence, as you were just talking about, in parents asking the kids, who did you like? Where do you want to go to? And I think that is such an interesting dynamic,
Mhm.
considering that you and my parents would have never said to me, hey Jill, which doctor do you like better? That would have never happened.
So the other part that we really need to think about is there's a lot of conversation around fees and what
Mm-hmm.
orthodontists are charging. And again, this could be a whole nother podcast, but ultimately, if you don't want to be an orthodontist that's a race to the bottom on fees,
Yeah.
you really need to look at your practice as a brand. What are you doing to create a brand, create an experience, and then you find products and services that feed into this brand that you're creating that reinforce that. And so that's where we talk to a lot of our practices about that as well. Are you going to be the Walmart of orthodontics, or are you going to be the Nordstrom of
Mm-hmm.
orthodontics? And I don't think either one is bad. You just have to decide what you want to do, and then you have to act accordingly, and then you have to have products and services that do that. Now, the ones who are going to focus on a brand, focus on products that support that brand and create an experience, are going to be the ones that are going to be able to charge higher fees and keep their fees a little higher because people are willing to pay for that. We see that all the time in consumer behavior where they might be value shoppers, but they're not. That doesn't mean they're wanting to spend less. They're just wanting to spend money on what they feel is going to be a good
Mm-hmm.
value and a good experience. And a lot of times orthodontists aren't thinking about that. They're just looking at where can I cut, where can I, which you should be looking at that stuff. But at the end of the day, you also need to be looking at your practice as a brand. And I think that's a huge consumer shift a thought shift for orthodontists over certainly the last 15 years.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we can definitely see that with the startups that I'm working with is we put so much emphasis on what is your brand? What is that patient experience? And that is something that has definitely, I feel like, I'm going to say the last 10 years for sure, we've really been cultivating what that is, because it's not enough to say, oh, what's your positioning point? Oh, we have up-to-date technology or advanced technology in our practice. If that's an expectation, like I would expect that. What is always interesting to me, Davin, and I know we've talked about this a little bit, but to your point of building that experience, and docs, anybody who's listening, I really want you to think about this, is it's always really interesting to me when I've got docs that want to build an experience that are really leaning into the digital and leaning into these different types of treatment that really they're efficient, they make sense, they're really setting them apart. But yet they have a really tough time leaning into the experience of what that younger patient coming into the practice is looking for. And I think that patients, it is more than just a color tie on a bracket anymore. And I think that we have to evaluate all of that as a whole now when we're really looking at what is going to set you apart. And to your point of birth rates dropping, younger patients in our practice are going to be more and more precious the longer out we go, when we are seeing that we are just having less patients coming in. So it's not enough just to say, I've got a big OBS pool, we're fine. That OBS pool, there's no guarantee that OBS pool will be there and somebody else won't grab them.
And we're working with a couple of some of the remote monitoring companies and stuff like that about creating an experience, leveraging some of our stuff, leveraging some of the other options out there to really engage that OBS patient. A lot of times that's been like a set it and forget it type situation for a lot of practices. And then they don't pay attention to the conversion rate from their OBS pool is less than their conversion rate from their new patient pool. And that should not be the case.
Exactly.
And what are we doing to engage those younger kids, not only in the holding pattern, but what are we doing to actually add value to those appointments for that patient that maybe can be done now versus waiting later? And we're talking to some folks about opportunities to create a fee on some of these things, not necessarily just with WildSmiles, but just creating a package and a value add to add into that experience, because that is a missed opportunity. And if you're converting at 60% or less on your ops, but you're converting at 80% on your new patients, you should definitely be looking at what are we doing with ops and why is it only 60%? Should be at least 80.
Yeah. And I could definitely go a whole episode on that one because, I think that it is such an undervalued place in our practice that we just don't want to spend the time on. I don't know. There's lots of thoughts and theories there, but I could not agree with you more. So I've heard you say many times a bracket isn't broken, the experience is. And I'm wondering if you can explain what does that mean when you're saying that, and how practices can really make the traditional brackets feel relevant and engaging to Gen Alpha patients, because that's who we're marketing to right now.
It goes to what we've been talking about. But so brackets are, in a lot of ways, to get the job done of a straight smile. A bracket is a bracket. And now we can talk about the self-ligating versus traditional twin, or custom printed versus whatever, benefits for different reasons. But if we're not attaching an experience to that, we're not really engaging people in the brand of our practice. And one thing that we look at is, how are we sharing that experience with the shopping family? So what tools are we using? And not only what tools, but how are we using them? Are we being intentional? And so that's we spend a lot of time with our clients with, hey, there's a certain way and a certain time to present this throughout the process, so that the patient's not overwhelmed, so that they actually have the time to evaluate what they might want. And then also, like in the new patient room, we have a whole setup that they can actually gamify the experience of selecting your braces by dragging and dropping to design their smile right there in the new patient room, either on an iPad or on their own phone. And so we include that into the experience. And then I see a lot of people on social media putting debond day videos. And these are great. But when you're talking about a shopping family who's scrolling to see what options are out there and what the orthodontic experience is like, what they're looking at is they're looking at, what does it look like to get started? And we create, sorry.
That's good. You left with we create.
Yeah. So we create an opportunity for them to actually capture the experience during the new patient appointment and into bonding day, so that then they can share that on social media. And now you got a kid that's excited to get their braces on because they got to choose hearts or stars or flowers or Mickey or whatever. And now that video and that image posted on your social media is now a no-brainer for somebody to, oh my gosh, this is a really fun place, because nowhere else am I seeing that kids are engaged and happy with starting. It doesn't mean that they're not. It's just nobody has the ability to show that because there's not really a reason to. So we focus a lot on, if you're trying to catch the patients before they even come in the office on social and engage them in a community that you're trying to build online, are you showing the experience? And then, oh, by the way, do you have an experience really worth showing that resonates with the shopping mom and their kids? And so that's really a huge differentiator that we've seen over the last few years as we've been more intentional with adding these experience materials into the process.
Yeah. I think that's a really great point. And just thinking about, how do we do it differently? How do you position your practice, yourself differently? Because I think I just read something where we can keep somebody's attention span for, I think it's like down to 45 seconds, something like that now. Yeah. And maybe I'm wrong on that. It was something I just read the other day, and for some reason 45 seconds catches my mind, but I thought, wow, if you've even got that much, and that was more in like a conversational setting of, you've got about 45 minutes until you've lost somebody, not in a scrolling situation, but in a speaking situation. If you've only got that much time, and you think about yourself as a TC or, what you're doing, you've got to be clear with your messaging. You've got to make sure you understand those points. And you said something earlier that I want to circle back around to. I just want to tease this out a little bit more. And you were talking about how so many offices are really missing that conversion out of our OBS pool into a start. And I think just in general, we are tracking our conversions from contact to contract, from phone call to new patient exam. And I think that this just naturally fits into that front funnel of, I think for so long, we've just had that thought that if they come in for an observation, they're my patients. And they're not. It doesn't matter what you're doing. They're not your patient until they've actually signed that contract. But I'm wondering if you gave us a couple little tips, but I'm wondering if you could just expand on that thought a little bit more, because I really feel like that is just a conversation that needs to just be talked about a little bit more in how we can shore that up so that we are not having those patients just quietly churn out and all of a sudden they're starting treatment with the doctor down the street, or they're
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things that we talk about to our clients, like using our stuff, is creating an engaging experience through like the designing your smile, running contests with keeping them engaged in, hey, when you come in, you're going to get to choose your brackets and choose your style, and having that baked into the overall experience. Now, some of the other things that I think are really cool is looking at this observation time as it's not just a sales funnel. You're actually adding value. You can actually add value. Some of the things with some of the remote monitoring stuff, get them set up on a remote monitoring account and have them scan every so often and then evaluate that and communicate with them through that. So number one, it gets them used to communicating with you remotely. It builds trust because now you're actually providing real value and real feedback on what's going on with the child during that time. It also creates perhaps a financial situation where now they're actually involved in the practice with a contract and financially. But ultimately, you've got to look at it as, are we adding value to the patient experience beyond just like putting them on a call list and a mailing list? And I think that's where, whatever that looks like, there's lots of different ways that can take shape. And there's a lot of different things out there. But again, like that would be a whole probably episode in itself to bring in maybe even some other people. But that's, I think, where we look at it and where we see it in our clients' practices and working with other companies out there and stuff is really, are we looking at this as a way to really add value and not just put it on a call list and call them, oh, it's been a year, it's time to see Johnny now. No, the technology is there. Involve them and add value.
And I love that you just said that the technology is there. And I think for so long, we have not focused on this side of our patient pool. It has always been, it's there. And yes, we say it's our savings account, kind of like savings account. We don't look at it a whole lot and come back and be like, oh, look, it's grown a little bit.
Well, do you want a 60% return or do you want an 80% return?
Exactly.
On that savings account? And what are we doing to actually change that? And what that looks like, there's a lot of different ways, but I think that's the biggest thing, like what you're talking about, is paying attention to it. And there's been a lot over the last number of years, a lot of focus on growing the adult population in the practice. And I always tell people, of course you should look at ways to grow the adult population. The danger is that it comes at the expense of continuing, maybe not even continuing, but of focusing on that younger demographic in the observation program or in the shoppers. And maybe you get a chance to convert mom only if you get the kid. So let's focus on getting the kid, and then we can convert the mom or the dad.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's a great way to think about it.
Yeah.
And now a word from the sponsors who make this podcast possible. Hey docs, let's talk about Smile Suite, because it's not just another scheduling system. It's a game changer in the world of new patient management. And as a proud Smile Suite partner, I've witnessed the incredible impact it has on practices of all sizes. Smile Suite means your new patient calls and web leads are expertly handled 7 days a week, even during nights and weekends. And they offer top-notch customizable presentation software and seamless post-consultation follow-up. It's like having a secret weapon for your practice's success. Curious? Dive into the revolution at GetSmilesSuite.com. And don't forget to mention Hey Docs to unlock some extra goodies. Elevate your practice with Smile Suite because every smile deserves a suite of excellence.
So let's switch gears a little bit. And you and I both know it can be really tough to introduce new products, new approaches, new thoughts and theory into practices, especially when we're established practices. I think it's a little bit easier in a startup because doctor is all in and the team is just whatever the doctor says I'm doing. I don't know any different usually. Let's talk a little bit about that. And I want you to tell me, what are you guys seeing when you're coming in and saying, hey, you have to, hey, TC, who doesn't have a lot of time already, I need you to think differently about this patient that's coming into your practice. And especially the one that comes in that you're probably not going to convert now. And you want to get on to that 12-year-old or that 13-year-old that's coming in next. And you're just kind of hurrying them through and throwing them, let's see you back in 6 months. Let's talk about that and just that friction that comes along with getting the team on board with where we're going.
Yeah, I think first of all, as a leader, the doctor needs to really set the stage. And I think I would challenge any doctor that's listening to this to view yourself as the CEO of your business. Yes, you're the doctor. You have clinical expertise. You're running a business and you have to get people that share in the vision of where you guys want to go. So if you want to be the Nordstrom, you've got to get a team of people that have the mindset to be Nordstrom level employees. So that's number one. We've heard it over the years. We basically created a category that's now called designer braces. So we're category creators that didn't exist 20 years ago.
Yep.
And the recognized category of designer braces has really only been in existence for about 4, maybe 5 years. So we've come up against a lot of friction just in change of thought. Once people realize the difference in the bracket, it's not really that hard to overcome. It's more of a change of thought. And there have been conversations I've had with TCs over the years. I just don't want another thing to do or another thing to offer. But I would say that's a mindset shift. So are you looking at anything new, not just WildSmiles, but anything new that you're bringing into the practice? Are you looking at it as another thing to offer that's going to get in your way? Or are you looking at it as a tool in your tool belt to create an experience that's going to help you close 1 more patient, 5 more patients, engage them in an experience in that observation that's going to be better for them. So now you're going to get conversions that are 80% versus 60%. So that's a huge mindset shift from the team of looking at the value that these potential products and services that you're adding in can bring not only to the patient, but to help you engage that patient. And in busy practices, I get it. That can be hard, especially established practices, because we've had practices where we've had a conversation with, this is one of my favorites. We're not really looking for new patients. Okay. Okay. I've had doctors tell me that. Have you had doctors tell you that?
I have not had a doctor tell me that. I have had doctors saying we're not looking to grow, but that's very different than we're not looking for new patients.
And maybe that was the sentiment. We're not really looking to grow. I'm like, okay, but at some point you're going to want, so there's 2 angles that I think that we need to think about. Number one, maybe you're happy with where you're at right now. And there's no issue with that. Are you looking at an exit? Are you looking at bringing on a second doctor because maybe your kids are going off to college and you're going to want to be able to spend more time with your family or whatever the reason is? So there's that angle, but then there's also the angle of, okay, but do you want to maintain the dominance that you have in your market? Do you want to continue to be the practice that people think about as the new, the fun, the exciting place? Yeah. Or are you going to let that startup that's starting up down the street, maybe now, maybe in 5 years, take over that spot? And I think that's where the mindset really needs to shift, because all businesses go through that. Like, you're in a really great spot. You've got great cash flow. You've got great patient base. You've got a great reputation. And those things might not completely go away, but what are we doing to maintain that and continue to be, because what was considered a technology advance or whatever 5 years ago is now no longer considered a technology advance. It's just everything that everybody has. So we just continue to have to be thinking through that, whether we're the doctor or the team.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that this so much goes back to, as you just said, leadership. We have to lead from the top down. And then make sure, docs, if you're listening to this, your team is just not going to know where you're going, what you're doing, what you want them to say. You really have to provide the education. Why? I always say when we consult, our goal is to teach the why behind the how. How do you do this? You need to understand the why behind what we're doing so that you can do the how. And I think that so many times we just want to jump in with the how. Well, you just need to, and that intrinsic of, well, why? If we know that we are converting less than 50% of our patients out of an OBS pool, and you got to remember, those patients started they didn't cold call you. They cold called you. You didn't cold call them. They left. You want to keep them engaged. We have to be able to think about all of the areas in our practices that are leaky buckets. And if we don't have a team that sees the value in that, and we can't educate them on the why that it's important, why is it important to worry about the patient that may or may not start 8 years from now? That's a major, a major area that we have a problem with, which could contribute to what you were just saying, where even if we are a practice that wants to maintain, there's still work that has to be done to maintain. And it's a slippery slope from maintaining to losing momentum.
Absolutely. And I think that was one of the biggest things that we struggled with. I'm big about sharing where we've had learnings and all that over the years. And one of the things that we struggled with was team buy-in of where WildSmiles really fit in adding value to them. So as an example, like the gal at the front desk that's there to greet people, where does WildSmiles as a bracket, how does me being involved in this add value anywhere? Mm-hmm. And so that's one of the reasons why we have a series of onboarding calls with the team to help them understand that, number one, you're all in sales for the practice, all part of the experience.
Yeah.
And you have a valuable role to play in whatever the segment is that you're involved in. Mm-hmm. And so then we started doing these trainings to help them understand, yeah, you're there and you're not in the clinic, you're at the front desk. But one of the biggest things that you can do when a patient comes in the door, say, hey, Johnny, we're so excited to have you in the practice today. Did you know that at our practice, you actually get to choose braces that fit your personality and your interest? Here's a menu of some of the different bracket styles. Now, when you're back in the new patient room, we can discover that a little bit more. But while you're waiting, why don't you take a look at the menu? So now they become an integral part of the sales process for the practice and helping them see that and helping them see the value with our product, but also the value that adds to the patient experience overall. And now that makes the job for the treatment coordinator potentially way easier because they're already sold.
Yeah.
And I know doctors don't like to use the term sold and all that stuff, but that's what it is.
Honestly, that is, we've got a group out there, and this is free choice to where they're going to go, where they're going to choose to start their treatment. And it is sales. And I know it's that bad word that nobody wants to talk about, but that is exactly what we're doing. It's an elective procedure, and they're going to elect to do it in your office or somewhere else.
Right. Exactly. And I think that's one of the biggest things. And we just to close out on this, but as a leader, as a doctor in your practice, you've got to help every single person understand the role that they play, the valuable role that they play in creating that experience in your practice. And if they don't have buy-in on that, that can be devastating. And so that's a big thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Davin, I know that you and I could just keep going and going, but as always, we have to bring it to an end, just like when our dinners end and we have to say, shoot, hug and go away. So if somebody wants to learn a little bit more about WildSmiles, maybe they're really intrigued by this. We've had a light bulb go off and they're like, I just have not really thought a lot about selling from the early side of treatment in my practice or whatnot, what's going to be the best way they can get a hold of you? They can find out more about WildSmiles.
Sure. Yeah. So you're the only person that I ever do this for. So I'm going to give them two ways. Number one, you're the only person that anybody is welcome to call me or text me on my personal cell. So that is, I'm going to give you the number. It's 402-677-3311. So
Thanks,
I'm always
Davin.
welcome to have a conversation about anything. And so that's that way. If you're interested in WildSmiles and you want to learn a little bit more about the product, the process, the framework that we have, our website, we have a whole doctor page. You can even explore. We have very transparent pricing with our easy start kits and what it's going to look like for you after you get started. So that information is all at wildsmilesbraces.com/doctors.
Great.
It's all right there for you. And you can even schedule a call with us and explore pricing and everything.
Awesome. Davin, you know how I like to finish us off. When we're done digging in, I'd love for us to do a little speed round. Are you ready for the speed round?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go. I don't know
All right.
if I'm ready, but we'll see.
Okay, here's one for you. What is one business trend you think more people should be paying attention to?
Business trend. I think one that they give a lot of lip service to, but I'm not sure how it gets implemented, is viewing their product as a brand. And I think that's a trend that we're seeing, not just in orthodontics. You look at, we recently bought a car on Carvana. That's an interesting company because it like got big and then it like almost crashed. And now it's like huge again. And so viewing your business as a brand is a huge trend that I think doctors should think about.
Yep. If you could give yourself your younger self, one piece of advice, what would that be?
Oh man, so many things. I've had so many learnings over the years. I think one of the things is don't really take too much stock in what people say that's negative, and stick with it, because there's times where you feel like, is this really where I need to be? Is this really what I'm supposed to be doing or whatever? But stick with it, because if you believe in it, if you believe in what you're doing, stay with it. Don't give up.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
All right. And the last one, this one will be a thinker.
Okay.
If you had unlimited resources, what is one idea that you would bring to life? You could just do anything. You got unlimited money.
Man, I don't want this to be a cop-out, but I definitely don't have unlimited money, and I definitely have had to work on a budget over my entire career. But I think what we've done in orthodontics of creating a category and creating a product that truly resonates with the young demographic of patients, where there is nothing else that resonates with them in the same way. Because my why on WildSmiles has nothing to do with the product. It has to do with when a kid feels completely overwhelmed by orthodontics, something that they probably don't have any choice in, that they don't have very much understanding of. If there's one thing that they can understand and get in the process because they get to choose their braces, that's a huge win for that kid. And so I really view what we're doing. I'm very missional about what we're doing. And so I really I think to create something like that, so I look at what I've been doing the last 20 years. It's not unlimited resources, but it's definitely something that is missional for me. And I think I feel very blessed that actually I had that opportunity coming out of college to be missional. Because a lot of times people don't view what they're doing or don't have the opportunity to view it as a missional thing. And I don't know if that's a cop out, but I really do. That's really where I'm at. I love what we're doing and it's great.
Yeah, I love that. Davin, thank you so much for once again taking time to be on Hey Docs. And I love the conversations. And it's fun because I feel like when we do it here, people get a little like peek behind the curtain and a lot of the really great conversations that we have many times when we get together. So thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure. And thanks for having me back.
Yep. All right. Till next time.
Bye-bye.